I hit over 193 million damage in one shot with the new Shroud Exotic Sniper, running Headhunter talent. Ditch Headhunter, and it's still 164 million. These are my peak solo test numbers. Plenty to one-shot any enemy in the game. I've been testing this weapon since I got my hands on it into PTS, but something just wasn't gelling. So we're gonna go deep down the rabbit hole and explore what the Shroud really has to offer. Headhunter's ruled sniper builds since day one, but what if Shroud ended that run? If you're deep into sniping, always chasing those clean lines and fine-tuning your rolls, this one's for you. We'll cut through the hype on Shroud and figure out if it's time to overhaul your setup. Hang with me as we break down the talent tiers, stack the math against the old kings like Nemesis and Mantis, and build something that hits consistent one-shots without the stack gamble. Lock and load, let's do this.
Accept the division! This is a war you can't win!
Piece of shit wristwatch.
Freak out, yo!
Bandidos, what up? Your boy Tux here. First off, nail your damage baselines to know what a sniper build really needs. For heroic solo, elites sit at about 10 million HP. In a 4-man group, that scales up by 1.7 to around 16.9 million. Legendary solo bumps to 14.75 million, hitting 25.2 million in groups. Those are your targets. Hit them clean or you're sending another shot. Now, the Shroud, its talent, high priority targets, ranks enemies in tiers. Tier 1 has enemies like heavies, warhounds, and medics. Tier 2 has technicians and immobilizers. Tier 3 for assaults, rushers, throwers, and skill proxies. Veterancy doesn't factor in. It's pure archetype. If your battlefield's got all tiers mixed, start picking off tier 1 for max amp, up to 125% damage boost on them, and then drop to tier 2, then 3. But skills or adds shift the tiers dynamic, so you must adapt on the fly. If everything's same tier, every shot's peaked. No hunting required. Most sniper setups live or die on just 2 shots. The cold open without buffs, and the max potential. The ideal build, one-shots elites on both for any content, solo or group. And yeah, that first shot, assume it's on an elite. That's how we want fights to kick off. We want to start the fight by picking off the greatest threat. To put this weapon in perspective, think of the talent as a system of buffs and nerfs. And we must consider that the elite on the board won't always be the one that gives us the buffs. So with that, we're gonna send the Shroud through the gauntlet. Quick note, because I know somebody's gonna ask, I'm skipping determined builds in this comparison. Just no need to go there. They're their own beast. And to be fair, they're killer for blasting through content fast, even in legendary team runs, for all sorts of good reasons. Determined's just in a league of its own. All right, let's lock in the build for testing so we can jump straight into data. We're running 3 pieces of hot shot. At least 2 pieces is going to be required on any build because 30% marksman rifle damage and 30% weapon handling is hard to miss. So otherwise, we have weapon damage and headshot damage everywhere. So that's what all of the reds are, except for the gloves. So we're running the Overdogs. These have crits. We're not analyzing crits for this build, just pure headshot damage. But this has given us an additional 30% amplified damage to the lowest tier that we hit. The backpack is Habsburg. We got headshot damage and handling. Vigilance is the strongest talent for snipers, giving us 25% increased damage. In the chest piece, I'm running the Sacrifice, which is giving us headshot damage and perfect glass cannon for 30% amplified damage. Here's the holster and the knees. For stats, we're really just gonna be looking at the headshot damage at 327%. We're gonna be going through iterations. We got a couple of important things. One quick misconception to clear up. Folks always chase that one piece of Airaldi for sniper builds. But let's run the numbers with the Headhunter talent, no modifiers, straight base damage, with Airaldi slotted in. Your first shot lands at 22.2 million, and the best follow-up hits 87.8 million. Swap it out for that third piece of hot shot instead, and the first shot jumps to 23.2 million, higher, with the peak at a still solid 87 million. Airaldi edges out on that top end pop by 0.8 million, but who cares? Both clear way over elite thresholds we talked about. It's overkill territory in a major way. The real game changers, that first shot bump from hot shot. You're not chaining perfect headshots every time. It's survival math. Higher opener keeps you alive to land the rest. Another question is, what about these Overdog exotic gloves for the sniper builds? Are they really best in slot? These work like Shroud's tier system, but in reverse, boosting the lowest archetype in the field, tier 3, with 30% more damage. That sounds good, right? For my test data on the build, Overdogs hit 21 million on a high tier elite and 12.2 million on a low tier, with a max of 50 million, but only when tiers match up, like one enemy left or all the same level. Drop the gloves for a second Habsburg piece that adds 20% rifle damage, and high tier goes to 23 and low tier to 10.3 million, peak at 48.5. Overdogs get 1.5 million more on that perfect shot when all the planets align, but it does not matter. Consistency is what really counts, and both setups already one-shot elites on low-tier targets, even when a higher tier is around and Shroud's talent is not active. The gloves don't change the outcome of the event. So what do the gloves do in solo heroic? Not much. If you hit the right target, the high-tier one, you one-shot it. If it's a low-tier or wrong target for Shroud, you're still one-shotting it. If you hit a bad low-tier target without talents or damage to targets out of cover, so the very worst scenario, you don't get the kill either way, gloves on or off. You still have to throw out 2 shots. They do not change the result. The main point is this. Listen, Shroud is so strong, it doesn't need extra help from anything if you hit priorities. It only misses on low-tier shots without vigilance active. For the most reliable sniper, which is what we want, the gloves can fill the gap between vigilance and a backpack talent like composure. Without the gloves, using composure won't one-shot elite low-tier targets. The best reason to use the gloves, run composure for 15% more weapon damage in cover and get it even when you're taking damage. It won't disable. Next, I want to point out the real problem for Shroud in Legendary. With Warhounds as tier 1 lingering like bad X's, especially in strongholds where they show up constantly and teams don't focus on them, they are a sniper's nightmare. They're actually suppressing your damage and disabling vigilance while tanking your shots. As long as they're up, Shroud will not apply the talent to anything outside of tier 1. And this forces the player to put everything on hold just to take out the Warhounds. That alone might make the Shroud the worst sniper for Legendary content. Another really bad thing about the Shroud. As a sniper, the cleanest shot you have is the very first shot when you're opening up a checkpoint or a control point. You pick your ideal target, you eliminate them, but with the Shroud, if you don't first activate the checkpoint or the control point by alerting them, for example, the first shot would alert them, hitting the flare or sending out a decoy, or somebody else on your team shoots, then the Shroud won't calculate the archetypes on the field, so you'll be hitting your lowest damage, even if they're all the same tier out there. The Shroud needs the checkpoint alert in order for it to calculate its damage, which means you lose the element of surprise on this sniper. So this leads to a key question. How does the Shroud compare to other exotic snipers like the Nemesis or the Mantis? Using the test build, the Nemesis with Overdog gloves works the opposite of Shroud. Its highest damage is to low tier targets because of the exotic gloves. Unlike the Shroud, it still puts out damage from its talent to the highest tier targets. It holds a steady 27 million damage, dropping to 20.8 million when the gloves do not apply. In a 4-player heroic group where elites have 16.9 million HP, the Nemesis performs best. Where the Shroud struggles to one-shot a low-tier elite, the Nemesis is hitting 20.8 million, while the Shroud gets 12.2 million. In Legendary, with a team, the Nemesis can one-shot the lowest or single-tier target because the gloves apply. Also, the Nemesis doesn't get bogged down by those hounds like the Shroud, where the Shroud is the exact opposite. It can't one-shot a low-tier target at all, but it will be able to one-shot a high-tier target. The Shroud only beats the Nemesis if the low tier is also the high tier, like it's the last man standing. But in that case, both weapons, the Nemesis and Shroud, can one-shot the target. With Headhunter, the Nemesis first shot is 17.7 million, and the Shroud is 23 million when hitting the right target. Both are enough for solo and group heroic, but neither one-shot a legendary elite on a cold shot. Headhunter doesn't apply damage on the first shot. Both hit 87 million with Headhunter stacks, so they end up being the same. For legendary, the Shroud is only best for bosses as the last one standing because they need a huge amount of damage. We're talking dudes like Aggro, the final boss of District and Arena. Let's talk about the Mantis. The Mantis hits 17.3 million on low tiers and 13.3 million on high tiers because of the gloves. But the Mantis also gives unlimited decoys. For solo heroic at least, the Mantis is the top choice because it is smarter to be more efficient on the battlefield than building all in for that one boss at the end. I mean, what's the cost of one extra shot on one dude? You don't see that often. So if that's how it stacks up, what's driving all the Shroud hype? I mean, those massive damage numbers look great. Sure, they pull you in, but let's be real. Has anyone paused to check where they actually count, or if our old exotic snipers like the Nemesis or Mantis pull off the same job? With Headhunter equipped, none of them one-shot a legendary elite on a cold open. Give them one kill to stack though, and they all do. But the biggest reason why Shroud doesn't take over the Sniper class king enemy composition. The vast majority of enemies in most content is tier 3 by a long shot, and it can do peak damage on that tier, but it needs line of sight on whatever higher tier enemy remains. And that is a big limiting factor. Many times where there's a technician or a medic hiding in the back and won't come out of cover. We can sum it up like this. For solo heroic, use the Mantis. For team, heroic, or legendary, use the Nemesis. That makes the Nemesis the most well-rounded sniper. So where does the Shroud fit in? It works best when the last enemy is a boss or when the whole room is the same tier, like hunters or rogues. What about those Turmoil knee pads for those multi-kills? They have your damage, so you really only need to worry about the first shot. On a tier 1 elite with Headhunter equipped, Shroud's first shot lands 7.8 million. Not enough. Nemesis opens stronger at 10.4 million. Swap to Glass Cannon instead of Headhunter, and Shroud now hits 10.4 million. Nemesis, 13.2 million. Enough to be one-shotting, but miss the tier priority, and Shroud dips to 5.8 million. Nemesis holds at 10.4 million. Go Glass Cannon on Nemesis with Turmoils. It clears clean on openers. So where do modifiers fit into all of this? You've got two solid paths. One's bumping advanced materials for 6 skill tiers, cracking your decoy and Achilles pulse. That's how I pulled those huge 193 million numbers. But Achilles can flake out unless you're overcharged. And even then, it's got a long cooldown, so it's often not there when you need it. A better play? Swap to the Tactician drone. It's always overcharged, handing you and your team a steady 15% amp damage non-stop when advanced material is active. That frees up Spotter for your chest talent. I'd love Spotter on a Habsburg chest for that extra punch, but I don't have it. So I'm running Perfect Spotter instead, and it delivers 26 million on tier 1, 13.2 million on low tiers. For comparison, Nemesis clocks 30 million and 20 million. No matter which weapon you're using, you're one-shotting with this. This is a solid team support with good uptime, but if you want to crank your personal output, Zealot's your move. It lets you pop out of cover longer, taking hits without killing your flow. And Zealot's gonna protect your Vigilance backpack talent, so it won't be disabled. Look, here's the deal. The Shroud isn't the total game changer it seems at first glance, but it still deserves a tuned build. In group legendary, your low first shot damage needs compensating. Aim for at least 12.5 million on a low tier elite to guarantee a 2-tap on anything in sight. You play the hand you're dealt, right? Your high end on that same low tier has to one-shot, which means you need to hit 25 million minimum on that same archetype. The only way there? Headhunter. Without the chest having a damage talent like Glass Cannon or Spotter, your cold shot on a low tier elite drops out around 10 million even with Zealot. That's as good as it gets with the Shroud. You're overkilling high tiers, sure, but that's wasted potential since you don't need Headhunter for them. But it balances the low tier weak spot, letting you clear whatever elite lines up once you have a Headhunter enabled. Be sure to maintain Headhunter, because that's going to be your savior against those low tier elites in Legendary. For solo heroic content, I lean on Glass Cannon or Spotter paired with Zealot. You one-shot low tiers clean, high tiers too. If the boss is low tier, just save him for last and you've got your one-shot kill. So the question, did Shroud kill Headhunter? No. It needs it, especially more than the Nemesis. I hope this helps break down where the Shroud slots into your arsenal without all the guesswork. For me, the real eye-opener, it didn't dethrone the Sniper King, Nemesis. It's still holding the crown. See you at the rendezvous. Thank you for hanging out with me. If this one landed right, do me a favor. Smash that like, sub, and flip on notifications so you catch everything I'm cooking up next. Huge shout out to all you channel members and donors out there. You're the real MVPs keeping Tux Nation rolling and growing stronger every day. If you're feeling the vibe, come join Tux's Players Club. Doors wide open for everyone. Kick it with hundreds of banditos powering this community and unlock a bunch of sweet perks, plus my raved about gamer music playlists. Perfect timing too. Fresh beat packs just dropped for the Bandito to the Bone level. We're talking regular waves of pure gaming music fire for our top supporters. Click join or the link in the description for the full scoop on everything. Seriously, jump in if it feels right. Can't wait to see you on the member side.
Wait, did we just become best friends?